Hi there, welcome to the Working Better Together section of our Modern Workplace series. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Dave Bryar-Jones from Purify. Dave is Managing Director and has a lot of experience helping organisations to work better together and how they can maximise use of Microsoft technology in their organisation. Welcome, Dave.
Thanks, Greg.
How are you doing?
Yeah, well, thank you.
Excellent. So let's start with something very topical, something that we're seeing with our customers just now. Microsoft Teams, let's start the conversation there. Microsoft's fastest growing product, apparently 13 million daily users, really transforming the way that organisations are working. Do you mind just sharing a bit about what Teams is and how organisations are using it in your experience?
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So Microsoft Teams is pretty much everything that we do at Purify. It's a big product. It's communication and collaboration. It's instant messaging. It's telephony. It's kind of all of that wrapped up into one package. It's been exceedingly popular, as you said. So over 13 million daily users. A lot of the top Fortune 250 companies using it already. I think that's mainly because it's the right product at the right time. So I think the marketplace has moved on. The way that we work as kind of knowledge workers has really changed and developed over time. So we're used to working in sort of small teams of people who are collaborating to get work done, and that might be people within our organisation, but also external, so agencies and consultants and so on. And that's the way a lot of our customers work. And having a tool that enables them to work in that manner with those external users is really, really strong and really powerful. I think it's a product that's arrived at the right time. And the reason is, I think with other social media apps, kind of people used to using them in their personal life, there's this kind of understanding and an ability to use Teams within the workplace to deliver that kind of instant chat, better video collaboration in meetings, telephony, live collaboration on documents and so on.
Sure. I think that's definitely something that we've noticed with the organisations that we're working with who have perhaps moved to Office 365 but not fully utilised all the different apps.
Absolutely.
Teams seems to be a great kind of front end, almost like GUI to bring it all together.
Yeah, definitely. We see Teams, a lot of our customers start talking to us about Teams, but then it's very quickly we're into a lot of the other Office 365 apps that kind of are a little bit underneath the surface for a lot of customers. So whether that's Planner or any of those others, whiteboarding is a great app as well that not a lot of people use, and To Do is superb as well at managing tasks. So all of that together brings a really compelling story.
Dave, something we get asked a lot is what's the difference between something like Yammer and Teams? Say Yammer being heavily focused on social networking.
Yeah.
It seems like Teams can provide similar functionality. Some Ignite announcements last week talking about how they're redeveloping Yammer to be more modern.
Yeah.
Can see where it might fit in, but interested to get your take on that.
Okay, so I think it's a common question that we get asked is what tool for what job, because obviously there's Teams, Outlook and email is still around as well, and Yammer too for some organisations. I think the difference is between working with people that you work with every day, so what Microsoft has classed as your inner loop of people. So this is where you're doing the majority of your project-based work, if you like, and you're just generally getting down to doing work. Yammer is much more fun for the outer loop, so as you would work with people across the organisation. So a good example of that is it can be used for enterprise social, so it could be for genuine social clubs like cycling clubs within the organisation, that kind of thing that's kind of a little bit more off topic, but also it can be used really well for what's called communities of practice. So this idea that, if I'm in a global business, and let's say I'm a consulting engineer, and I'm working on a particular bridge project, for example, that, and the only other person working in that organisation with a similar kind of experience is in Singapore, I would never bump into that person in the corridor or in a meeting. But Yammer is great for kind of fostering those like little communities of practice of kind of really, deep specialisms. So I think the fact that Microsoft is still developing Yammer shows you that it's still going to be around, it's still in their roadmap, but that they are trying to surface that information into Teams a lot more. Teams is becoming that place that Microsoft want, the application that they want knowledge workers to live in and work in, and that single view, and bring all of their other tools for Teams to be the kind of user interface for all their other tools.
That's really interesting. So just picking up on that then around collaboration, working differently, building this as a modern workplace, Teams core of that, it's quite different, I suppose, to the way that many organisations currently work, or some of our public sector customers who are starting that transformation. What do you see as being the barriers to Teams adoption and starting to roll that out?
Yeah, I think that we get into quite a lot of conversations about change management and resistance to change. I think that the key thing to it is finding the what's in it for me for each individual person. So why it can't just be here's another tool, you should be using this. What is the benefit, and how do we tighten up the link between the benefit of using Teams, the real tangible benefit, and the kind of organisational objectives? So what is the point of Teams? Essentially, what is it going to deliver to us? And we try and always look down to produce some significant numbers around that. So it could be about saving time, it could be about saving cost, because now Teams can do a lot of other things that you might be paying other software to do, and it's included as part of your software licensing. So it could be saving money, it could be saving time. Finding those people who have a resistance. A lot of the time when we talk about change management and technology, it tends to be the IT team who don't really listen to the barrier. They don't really listen to the real objective behind the barrier. We just think people are cynical, they don't want to change. But generally, the reasons that people bring up are valid, and I think having some empathy and listening to those reasons, and then showing people how it can improve their life, how it can improve their work balance, I think is all important stuff. And taking those things seriously, I think, is a good thing to do.
And so when you approach it like that, you start to engage with the end user, understand their problems, more likely to an IT project to be successful because you're actually addressing real problems they have. And
absolutely, and I think Teams is one of those applications that's not really an IT project. It's a business change project. If you're looking to change the way that you work, then Teams can help you do that. But it's not another application that you can roll out on a Friday that people can use on a Monday. It's a really different tool.
Could sort of switch it on with some really bad governance. And,
well, we have had people who've done that, and absolutely there's a lot of kind of lessons learned around how not to deploy Teams. And if you do just switch it on, you will end up with potentially thousands of Teams and information all over the place. So it does need some thought, and it does need some governance. Definitely.
Many of the organisations we work with just now are on things like Skype for Business Online. They're just weighing up their options and what to do next. And where do you see Teams fitting into those?
So I think the Skype for Business question is one that we get regularly. It's worth noting that there's two different versions of Skype for Business. So Skype for Business Server and Skype for Business Online. Skype for Business Server is continuing to be developed by Microsoft and improves and changed all the time. And that suits some customers really well. Some customers are still very much in on-prem environments, and there may be reasons for that around compliance or other things. And some businesses have got very complex telephony with Skype for Business, with complicated in-country global routing rules and things. So Skype for Business Server is not going away. Skype for Business Online is though. So there is an end date for that, and Teams is the direct replacement for that product, although it does do an awful lot more. And I think we get into a lot of conversations about, I use Skype, I'm happy with Skype, why do I need to change? And I think once we get to explain everything that Teams can do, it's not taking any functionality away, it's only providing more and more functionality. Then it becomes a fairly straightforward conversation. You can run both Skype for Business and Teams together as a kind of hybrid deployment, and it does work, but we would always recommend that that's for a kind of limited period of time, because I think it makes sense to put a line in the sand. We don't want to just keep more and more tools there for the user to use. You end up with some people using Skype all the time, some people using Teams all the time. Let's move everybody onto one platform and make it simpler for everybody.
Yeah, it sounds easier in some ways.
Yeah.
I think we found as an organisation is not heavily or extensively using Skype for Business Online, then let's just go straight to Teams.
Absolutely.
And we can have that phased rollout that we talked about and plan it and start to help people use Teams as a platform. Okay, is Teams viable for example, voice? Is there different ways that can be?
Yeah, for sure. So at Ignite there was an announcement around Microsoft 365 Business Voice. So that's bringing the kind of enterprise voice capability that we've seen in Skype for Business, both online and on-prem, but into Microsoft Teams for business customers. So if they have it's less than 300 seats. So if you have a business license, you can now buy a business voice. I think it's around list price around £12 per month per user, and that brings you connectivity. So from Teams, you can dial out directly to the public switch telephone network. You have all of your routing requirements in there. You can have auto attendance and call queues. We can do handsets. So it can act as a full voice solution, with the benefit that obviously Teams comes with the app for iOS and Android, so we can get direct routing into those devices as well, which is really, really powerful and really strong, especially for small businesses where traditionally they've been charged quite a lot of money for that kind of enterprise level telephony. And it's because it's 365. It's very flexible. You can buy the licensing month on month, so you can scale or reduce as you like. So yeah, it's really good for small business now. It's great for enterprise as well, and we can do very complicated Teams telephony if required, including routing across different countries, breakout across different SIP providers, all kinds of things, all the way up to contact center as well with some third-party plugins. So it's a fantastic tool, and I think voice really brings an extra level to using Microsoft Teams. We're having a lot of conversations about it now.
Sounds it's very extensive what it can do. So we've kind of talked about collaboration, talked about change management, the voice elements, the integrations to different apps, a number of areas there. I mean, what's the best place to get started if you're thinking about Teams today within organisations that are perhaps viewing today?
So I think it's really important, as you said, it's a very broad product. I don't think necessarily that people understand everything that it can do. We haven't even talked about kind of live events and webinars. We haven't talked about Teams room meeting room solutions, which are available as well. So the first thing I think is we offer a Teams assessment, Teams planning assessment, and essentially that's a chance to review the whole product and then also to sit with different organisations, work out what their organisation objectives are, see if they have any other kind of transformation programs going on. A lot of organisations do have a digital transformation project. They're looking at reducing their built assets. They're looking at all sorts of things. So how does Teams fit into all of that? And then develop a bit of a roadmap and a report off the back of that.
And I imagine that's really valuable just in terms of them making sure that they've got everything in place before they start.
Absolutely. Like we said just a little bit earlier, it's quite a niche product, Teams, and it's very much about business objectives and much less about traditional IT and infrastructure. So having the right people in the room to explain the application to, and thinking about adoption and change management and how people are going to use that product is really, really key, as is governance. So making sure we've got the right rules set up for who can create teams and what the permissions are. Really important.
I think that's a key takeaway for me, really, is that statement around it's a business project as much as not more than a traditional IT project. So make sure that you think about the right stakeholders and get them involved early in the Cool. Thanks, Dave. That's really fascinating stuff. Thanks for spending the time with us today. Thank you for watching our Work Better Together section. We appreciate you joining us, and please tune in again for the next instalment soon.